what I'm showing on the slide is the three basic stages of any value chain. So you have a business, and businesses exist to make money, right? So you have a sales stage where the salesperson goes and closes the contract, and the sales stage normally finishes with the contract, which is here, right? Then if you have a complex product or service, then you start the project. So you have to deliver that project. Normally it has a go live date. If it's a physical product, you get, for example, if you build a house, you give the keys to the client, that's the go live. And then it's the operations phase, which is the people who actually milk the operations. They take over whatever the product is, and they stay with the client. If I have to use your metaphor, sales is like, it would be seduction stage. So you go and find people, you swipe right, and you identify prospects. And then at a certain point, you find somebody who you like, and then you start dating them. So that's the kind of the contract. So you are now with that person. And there is a honeymoon period where you first get to date them, right? And then you start to discover who they really are. So the first part is sales. The second part is the honeymoon. And once the honeymoon is over, if that person is still a viable option, you enter into operations, you enter into marriage. So maybe not the most intelligent metaphor, but so what is why this separation is important is not because it's a fun theory fact, but because it requires different mindset in each of those phases. So salespeople, their only purpose is to get the contract. And a lot of people grill them for that. And I absolutely respect salespeople because their only job is to lock the contract. If they don't do that, we're out of business, right? Of course, sometimes they have to overpromise, sometimes they have to seduce, but that's what they get paid for. And this is one skill set. Once they hype up the client and you sign the contract, if it is a complex product, you have to deliver that. So certain products are easy. Like if you buy a coffee, it's 1 minute. You don't need to build the coffee. So that middle project part is missing. Sometimes it's called transition. Sometimes it's called implementation. Sometimes it's called engagement. But if you're selling something simple, you don't need that middle part. However, in our case, if we are consultants, if we build a house, if we build a crane, if we implement the software, that middle part can take between 1 and 12 months. And this is what we are going to discuss today. How do you manage the client in this particular phase? Because you can touch the client during the sales phase as well. This is outside of today's topics. And then you can also touch the client. You can have escalation in operation mode. This is also outside. I'm talking about only throughout the duration of the project. And this is it's one of the most difficult phases because this is the first time when the things get real. So salespeople, let's talk about big projects, like let's say B2B environment, 5-6 million. The client is paying 5 to 6 million to have a software deployed, implemented, configured, or whatever. You cannot push a button and say, here's your software. It needs to be configured, it needs to be localized, it needs to be people needs to be trained, needs to be adopted, whatever. And the amount is very high. So if you buy a coffee, it's $5. If you buy a software, it's 7 million. Of course, expectations are high. So sales did an excellent job. They locked the contract. So now it's the project manager's turn to take these expectations, deliver the project, because that's the end-to-end accountability. And upon the go live, they give out to operations, which is another phase.